The afternoon has been ticking along nicely, hasn't it? We're going to move on to our penultimate session, the North's role as a world-class creative hub. Before I welcome up the speakers, we're going to take a look at some of their brilliant work.
This is the biggest adventure.
Oh, here it comes. Listen to this.
Buckle up, guys.
Here we go.
We are one trigger press away from starting World War III. My gosh, that's a Russian fighter. Here they go.
Tony is going to be the first person to be publicly dissected in the UK.
We need to show people what is really going on. People need to know the truth.
Supermarket Sweep Africa Edition. Munya is here.
It's grabbing at my underwear, pulling it to the side. I'm telling him to get off me, and he won't get off.
I didn't know what else I could do to help. But we weren't going to stop.
For years, I've blocked it out, down and taken action.
What kind of mum do you want to be?
I don't know, just a mom. Someone who's actually going to care.
You need to see the man who did this to me.
What the fuck happened at the party?
You know what? It's her word against mine.
Tell me where my daughter is.
Oh, no.
I don't think that you should have that phone. This is what's making you ill.
Sorry, I'm not perfect. Please stop. You are driving me to do this!
Make magic. This is an incredible opportunity.
Who are no leaders, no leader. You guys are talking complete shit.
Completely lost my respect as quickly as you earned it.
Got everything they need. But have they got everything they want?
You're going to spend 8 days in the pitch black. Are you scared of the dark, Chris?
The light can never be afraid of the dark.
Everyone's about to learn the victims really mean.
Totally alone.
In the Canadian bush.
Whatever it is, it knows I'm here now.
There couldn't be a better time to spread love and laughter live.
What a load of woke nonsense.
I think your son has anger problems.
My son idolizes me.
David, he's drawing you in an acid bath.
How are your moods?
Fine. How are yours?
Any irritability or rage?
Nothing unjustified.
This is engineered human meat. Does it hurt?
It is pain subjective.
There's one thing we British do better than any other country in the world.
Dress up in silly costumes and remember we once had an empire.
You asked them
him to tie you up.
Yes.
It's really weird, mate.
Are you ready to marry a stranger?
Absolutely freaking not.
Come on! And there he is again.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you kindly join me in welcoming Imogen Tazzyman, Executive Creative Director at McCann, Manchester, Ewan Douglas, Head of Sales and Business Development at Channel 4, Alixe Lobato, Creative Director at Flying Duck Studio Lab, and Steve Davies, the Chief Executive at the APA. Welcome all.
Practice this bit, shouldn't we?
Thank you all. Thanks for sticking around. I've learnt so many things today, one of which is I must watch more Channel 4 shows because they all look bloody amazing. We're delighted to be here. Thanks to the Ad Association for inviting us to be part of this. I mean, I think it's exciting that there's so much happening in Manchester to the extent that it wasn't just we wanted to be here, we need to be here, don't we? Because it really has grown as a creative hub. And that's what we're here to talk about. We're going to look at, why do you think the North has become a world-class creative hub, if you're of that opinion? Should we start with you?
I have some opinions on that. I wholeheartedly agree. I say this as a very proud. So I began my career in Manchester, moved down to London for about 10 years, and then came back. So none of this will be London bashing. I say this as a very proud ex-Londoner, actually, but I just think the Northwest, the North itself, is unrivaled in terms of talent and creativity. I think we've got huge kind of chops in loads of areas. So my little kind of corner of the creative world is advertising, right? You kind of saw the stuff we do there, but we steal from anywhere. So the stuff that we're amazing at in the Northwest, art, fashion, music, the places we can take inspiration from, no bounds in the Northwest. And I think that's part of what really fuels our creativity up here and makes us a little bit better than the rest.
So the media industry is built out of the whole culture of creativity.
I think so. I think there's a huge culture of creativity. I think it's one of the fuels for creativity is that inspiration. It's really hard to get creativity out without putting creativity in. I think that's one of the things I was finding in COVID personally, that it was actually quite hard to access the thinking and access the creativity because we were at a risk of not getting that inspiration in not getting that creativity coming into us. So for me, having that inspiration all around us at all times it's incredible for the work.
Yeah, good. Ewan?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, I think you hear a lot about it today. When you think of that question, you think, well, what do you need to be amazing? Well, you need to be producing brilliant work, and you need identity, and you need talented people, and you probably need some history. And Paul touched on a bit of that, but you need growth and momentum and passion and people that want to improve and get better. And I think you see that here. We're really proud of the investments that we've made in the North so that we can tell stories from all over the UK, some of the stuff that you've seen on screen, and keep telling that. And now that we've got 400 people outside of London, we're going to move to 600, and that is all about so that we can tell those stories better from different represented voices from different parts, which otherwise wouldn't be making it on screen. So I think it's really strong.
And you're making the point as well that it's not just about Manchester because you chose to headquarter in Leeds.
In Leeds, yeah. So we've got places in Glasgow, Bristol, Manchester, and Leeds, and that is really about making sure that we can, as I say, tell stories from different parts of the country to sort of hold a mirror up to what representation really is in the UK. Cool. But the North is an enormous part of that, and that is wedded into our history and our future as well.
Yeah. Alixe, you're based in Hebden Bridge, which is, I haven't come across another creative business from there, so that's in itself part of the whole northern story.
Yeah, I'm between Leeds and Manchester, which I'm close to London. I think for me, it's about in the North, crisis challenge, make people richer. So we didn't have it easy in the North, and I think previously they were talking about working class. So the North is the image of the working class in England. And I think it's just building really nice people, fighters, and that brings with a lot of creativity. And I think it's just fixing a little bit those network and connections and bringing everybody together. What is the challenge right now, but we will get there.
Thank you. And the changes you've seen, Imogen, we just start with you again because McCann has always been in Manchester, I think, and probably the best known, one of the 2 or 3 best known agencies here over all that period of time. But has it become more important to the whole network over the time you've been here?
That's a good one, that. So I've actually worked for both McCann Manchester and McCann London, so I've probably got a bit of a unique viewpoint there, I think. I think what I love about McCann Manchester, and I think what our clients probably love as well, is we are so embedded within the culture of the Northwest. Our people live here and work here and socialise here and hang around here. And inherently, I think we can bring our businesses a little bit closer to their customers. The people that we work with, certainly, I think someone had just said it in a previous session, there can be a little bit of a gap otherwise sometimes, I think, with getting your businesses close to the actual customers that are shopping there. And I think that's something that we can do in McCann Manchester. We live and breathe it every day, right? We're truly kind of closing that real people gap, if you will. I think sometimes in London we could be in danger, I've done this myself, of being a bit insular. There is a bit of a bubble, I'm sure you've heard that today. But we can be in danger of just kind of making work that the industry talks about and forgetting that there's a whole raft of real people out there. And I think that's something that we've always just avoided by our very nature, where we are.
And Ewan, have you seen that with the advertisers you work with?
Yeah, I think we've seen enormous growth in the past 10 years, really, in our business, and led by Manchester, and sort of network agencies have been a big part of that. And then probably in recent years we've seen independent agencies growing more. I think one of the really interesting areas for us is that we've seen new advertisers or founders and smaller businesses developing and growing in this market, bigger than any other area for us across the UK. So that has become a real focus and specialism. You see people nurturing businesses and nurturing advertisers through that growth phase here better than anywhere else, and it's important that we recognise that. We've set up a lot of different products to sort of address and hopefully support that.
Yeah, make them feel confident that TV advertising is for them.
Yeah, and you sort of, and that's not, it's about putting scaffolding around them in those early areas as you sort of grow them and help their businesses grow, and that's hopefully great for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Alixe, what have you seen advertising change since you've been here? What was the reaction when you first set up in Hebden Bridge, and has the perceptions changed over the years?
Yeah, so I come from London, and funny thing, I was working at McCann for like a couple of years, and I know the whole ecosystem in London, and I was a little bit scared of like moving to the north. And I just realized that first there is a lot of support from different organizations in trying to make the North thrive. There is, like I say, a lack of network, but there is like few initiatives that they are working in bringing people together, and small businesses compete with like London mostly and other main cities. And I saw like this amazing bubble of individuals and small medium companies that they are start to engaging, and like post-production houses. And I did work for a Channel 4 with a company in Leeds, Candor, and it's amazing what you can see, like how much talent and people is around that I didn't know it was exist. So my fear was completely vanished after a couple of years.
I do feel like there's an element of we just kind of get on with it a little bit, for what you just said. We're worker bees, right? We just get our heads down and get on with it. I wonder if sometimes we have a bit of an issue with we don't advertise ourselves well enough. Is there a bit of a perception that outside of here we're not that creative? Like, that's insane. Like, having moved around a little bit, talent doesn't seem to adhere to a postcode, funnily enough. But so I wonder if we've sometimes got a bit of a job to do in advertising ourselves a bit more.
Well, Alixe was spoke about building a community, and that's something the Advertising Association very much helps to do by bringing us all together today, and things will ripple out from that, won't they? And there'll be follow-up events, I'm sure. The challenges you're facing, I suppose we're talking about here, the specific challenges to you here rather than the challenges that advertising faces generally, which is always budgets, too much supply, etc., etc. What particular challenges do you have in the market here?
I mean, just to build on what I just said, almost is there a perception that we're maybe not as creative as some of our other counterparts? Might not help. I do wonder if, as well, we can't really answer that question without saying our clients, I'm sure some are in the room, you're having your budgets cut, right? That's having an impact on all of us. So the biggest thing, I think, that the challenge we're seeing is when our clients are having their own budgets cut, we've got to make their money have more of an impact for them, work harder for them, go further for them.
Sure.
That has an impact on our people. And I know you've had a few sessions on that today, but my biggest challenge at the moment is that, coupled with just the burnout of the teams. And I don't know, again, whether that's a Northwest thing versus a London thing. Won't say they're probably just about similar. I think it's happening everywhere. But I don't know if some of our clients potentially are feeling it more keenly, and therefore we are as well.
Yeah. We all need clients like Warburton's, which make us all feel good. The people who work on it, their staff, everything else.
Got one, don't worry.
I think in Ian's session early on, he talked about the cost of capital being a challenge for businesses, and when you're working with a lot of businesses that are in growth phase, as we all do, that has been probably a challenge that's been felt in this market more firmly. And I think, collectively everyone's sort of rallying around and finding different ways to work with advertisers. We have a sort of an equity where we sort of take shares in businesses in return for sort of media for ventures business. That's allowed us to get a lot closer to those advertisers, but we've probably been more successful in that space because we are competing against what was traditional sort of funding rounds, and we're now managing to get further up in that. But it's another way to sort of reach out to advertisers to help them access your products, essentially.
Yeah, well, as a form of sales, that sounds incredibly entrepreneurial, so it's exciting to hear about that.
I think that's what you get, right? In challenging markets, drive innovation, right? And you've heard that across lots of the stuff today, so that's what we've all got to do when it gets tougher.
Yeah. Alixe, do you find that? And also, do you find another challenge of being here is that people expect you to be cheap when you don't want to be?
No, it's like I think the main challenge that we can face is just the mindset and the preconception from the client point of view that if they go to London, they will have a better quality product, which is not true. So it's like how you prove to, like these potential clients that you have the capacity and you have the talent and you have the creativity equally as in other regions. And I think, for example, also from institutional and organizations, I don't work only in advertising, and I'm attached with like Screen Georgia, and they didn't have a database of like post-production houses in the north. They had a lot of information about like shooting and production companies, but nothing about post-production. So they are fixing it right now, but it's just information, and it's like building those connections and prove that we have the strength, we have the talent.
Yeah, well, you touched on a frustration here that we heard at Leeds, Scotland, where you also have a creative talent, but sometimes they find that when the client gets to a certain size or whatever, they feel they need to transfer their work to London.
When there is no need.
When there's no need. So is that something you're fighting against here?
I think personally, I was thinking how lucky I feel to have slightly the opposite on some of my clients. I think because of the nature of the clients that we've got, or the brands that we work with. I literally had a conversation with a client the other day. We were having very frank, candid conversation actually about something to do with our customers. And she stopped me halfway through. And again, I would never be a London basher. I'm a very proud ex-Londoner. And she stopped me halfway through and said, I'm so glad we're not having this conversation with a London creative director. And I knew exactly what she meant because I was just listening to her. We were just rolling up our sleeves and getting on with it. And we were literally writing in the room together, me and our head of customer at this brand. And I knew what she meant. I knew what she meant, that we could be open, we could be honest, we were just getting on with it. And so I feel like I'm quite blessed maybe that the kind of brands that we work with, and they're big names, they're big kind of fabric brands for the UK, see the advantages of working outside of London more than they do see the negatives or the perceived negatives. And I'm sure they are there for many.
Yeah, I think we've heard today that we've got a global leading advertising market in the UK, and proximity to London is a real benefit, and it's about setting your business up so that it answers your clients' needs in the best possible way, right? So I think it creates opportunity more than anything.
Yeah, it's like you have the benefits. It's like it's more cost efficient for sure. You have the diversity of covering the regional aspect and talent. So I think it's like we talk about challenge, but also, like you say, we have some strengths that we can bring it up.
Yeah, and there's so much. I've personally found it so much easier to attract a more diverse talent pull to where we are, because I think when you're in London, and again I experienced this, I was really lucky when I went down to London. I had my family to help me out financially, right, let's be candid, wouldn't have made it otherwise. That instant, it's so exclusive, that as a route into London, it really is, and it's why I was so, oh my god, SJ, I need to pick up with her at some point. That is incredible, the work they're doing with that, and there are pockets of it happening to make sure we're kind of increasing that talent, the diversity of the talent pipeline in every sense of the word. You're leading the absolutely world class in talking to the working class in the UK. I don't think it's something that in the advertising industry we're particularly nailing very well, and I think part of that is who is kind of having a seat at the table, and part of that is how do you get into the industry. It's very hard unless you've got money at the moment.
Well, it has become so. I mean, it used to be you could move to London 20, 30, 40 years ago and rent somewhere cheaply on your starting salary, but now that's almost impossible.
Yeah, and
so
it's slightly
your starting
less.
salary will not let you support yourself in London.
And I would say that is much less of a barrier up here. It's much less of a barrier to entry. So hopefully we're already making strides.
Yeah, I want to talk about talent. I mean, I think you're obviously developing and training talent up here. I did a careers talk in Stoke a few years ago on Speakers for Schools, and one of the people asked me afterwards, said, I really want to do sound design, but I don't want to leave Stoke. And I said, well, that's just, that's just not going to happen. But maybe in the future, it will be possible.
I mean, potentially, again, with remote working has totally changed our workforce for a start, so in a lot of areas for the better, because we can look anywhere now for talent. It really doesn't matter where you live. Yes, I think there are benefits from being in and growing that kind of team bond, etc. But it does mean that we can diversify our talent pool.
Yeah, I think there's both a commercial and a creative benefit to having better representation of people all over the country, right? Regardless of what they're doing. And one of the things that we've agreed with government over the past couple of years that we will commit into our 4 Skills programme in 2025. We'll put it's £10 million a year behind sort of developing that, because I think you've got to pay in, haven't you? If you expect the category and the sector to grow and the talent to grow, you've got to be paying in, and it's easy for us to say that as a big number, as a big broadcaster, but everyone can sort of do something, and that would be why we'll do training, and again, we've heard some amazing stuff today, and it ranges from going into schools, and you're really just trying to inspire people, aren't you, and try and give them the thought that this industry exists and it could be something for you, all the way through sort of internships and placements and apprenticeships, and then also supporting people throughout their careers as well, so not just that. So we're really committed to that.
Alixe, in terms of finding and attracting talent here, have you found it harder than expected, easier?
No, it's like I think one of the difference that I can feel in London is like in London there is a lot of like competition, and it's this kind of like mindset of like we are competing with each other, while here in the north is like people feel more collaborative approach, and they want to participate, they want to like grow together. So finding people, meeting up, it has more value, I think, and more possibilities of growing in that aspect.
Great. I mean, I've learned a lot from this, so hopefully the audience also feels that. We've got just over 4 minutes left, so I think we've got time for some audience questions. If anyone would like to ask anything. Thinking. There's one.
Hi, I'm Zoe from Agents Academy, and I had this question earlier for the panel, but we didn't get to ask questions, so I guess I'll ask it now. We run programs to get young people into jobs in this industry, and one of the barriers I think for school leavers and university leavers, if they've got to university, is that often kids from like working class backgrounds who haven't got parents who work in this industry feel that they're potentially not good enough, and then there's also this challenge of not really understanding the unspoken rules about application process. So that computer says no kind of dilemma, but if you know, you know kind of stuff. So as much as a lot of the groundwork happening in schools is great, what is that, what's your thoughts on how do you overcome that barrier to entry for people who might just be feeling low in confidence and also not knowing the things that they don't know?
I'll happily take that. I think they're absolutely the barriers, and lots of them are unseen, right? And I think it starts with, you've got to know that we've now very proud of the fact we've got a beautiful big building in the middle of Leeds. So it means that people walk past it and they see the big number 4 and they go, that exists in this city, which is a starting point, and go, well, if it exists in this city and you walk past it and you see it, or you start referencing on the end plates of all our shows where the programme was made, it starts making people realise that that industry is there, and that you've got to reach out, and it's just got to become tangible and real for people. And we do a lot of work in outreach across all levels with people, and I think the points that you make about guiding them through those processes is definitely something we should think more about, actually, as we're refining that. But I think, like, you know, we're really passionate about it, and getting people in, and just seeing and getting them to understand that it can be for them is the big challenge.
And then I think that's such a good point you just raised. Like, I think we've got to then really look at our own subconscious bias, because in say the interview process, that's just really opened my eyes. Who's to say what the right thing to do is and what the right way to behave is? That's on us, right, as leaders, to either recognise that and change it, or be open to the fact that there is another way, you know, to show talent and creativity. It doesn't always have to be the way we've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had some schools in from quite some poorer socio-economic backgrounds, and they've come in, they've brought maybe sort of year 11, year 12 in, and the way the kids would behave is probably a bit inappropriate, right? The questions that they ask, they're quite direct, their language might not be brilliant, but no one's taught them how to behave in a professional environment, right? So we had a chat about it, a really good chat, and kind of go, well, but that's part of that learning journey that you've got to help bring people on and accept them, you know, and see beyond that. So.
Yeah, in our case, we started an initiative that we got some funding from the council, which is Square Lens Alliance, and is bringing media businesses and professionals together. But we went a step beyond, and we are trying to bring like also academics from college and universities. We are not reaching schools yet, but it's just bringing and breaking those barriers between like professionals and the general public. And we also like do a lot of activities with like workshops from more like, you know, in this case we are preparing a workshop for like refugees communities, and that is also a part of the mission of breaking those barriers and bringing people and understanding about design, animation, advertising, and all of that. So
yeah, I mean, getting people in is critical, isn't it? Because before you start work, you don't realise that people in work are normal people. You think there's some sort of whatever, and you've just got to get over that barrier somehow. But there's always going to be a certain amount of personal initiative involved, come what may, isn't it? And in the documentary about Steve McQueen, he talks about how his mother said to him, look, you keep talking about these fashion and stuff. Savile Row's down, you need to get down there tomorrow and knock on some doors. And at some point, however scared they are, they're going to have to act to succeed, aren't they? We're due to wrap things up now. Thank you very much to my panellists for all your very interesting insights. Thank you to Suzanne and Stephen at the A for inviting us, and thank you all for listening.